you may have heard the saying that we don't see things as they are, we see things as we are. And that was partial inspiration, too, for this banner. And it's so true that perception is everything. And at Unity, we believe that we get to create our world anew each day with that perception. It's right in Unity's principles. It's the third principle of Unity. We co-create through our thinking. We co-create what we experience as the world. That's the reality that's real. And here's an example. Two people can look out the same window, and one might see a dirty window, some clouds, a spot on the sidewalk, while the other sees the infinite miracle of life. The only thing that's changed is their perspective, their point of view. And that's perception. One person is seeing only problems, while the other person, despite the problems, sees problems and envisions answers. I think that's who we are as Unity. We're not just here to see the problems. We're here to vision the answers. So this talk is timely because now these were sitting in the car, and Jen can attest to, ever since she met me, these are glasses that sit, and some of them are so old, so, they're all, there's 3 pairs that some have bifocals, and how often do I wear them? Never, right? And here's a pair where both of the lenses are popped out, and I kept popping them back in. Their lenses are somewhere in there, but no, in case I need it, we really need to keep this around so I can pop the lenses back in just in case I need these glasses. So I don't know if anybody can relate to that, so I went to Kaiser and got my eyes checked, and they said, give us a pair of your current glasses, put them on, and let's take the test. And they said, do you realize your glasses aren't doing anything for you? They're not improving your vision at all. So they adjusted my prescription, and you know that feeling when all of a sudden you see something and it's totally clear, and you go, wow, and you're just staring at these little, 3 O L T R, and you're going, wow, that's the coolest thing. And I wasn't even looking at the world, but I was just, wow. So I can't wait until my new glasses arrive. I'm actually going to use them, and I'm going to throw away all those glasses, Jen, I promise. So let's explore this idea a little further. What if the same fogginess, this imperfection in our vision is affecting our emotional lenses, our mental lenses? We filter everything through the lens of our perception, our spiritual lenses. And what if we can correct that somehow and understand that the outer world reorganizes itself, constructs itself around the lens of our internal world. It does. I mean, your eyeballs actually see things upside down, and your perception flips everything right back, right side up. So, and it's amazing, just vision. We're only seeing a small sliver of visible light, of light that's visible to humans. But there are so many other light frequencies and waves. We're just seeing just a sliver of that. But I think that metaphysically and spiritually, the same applies. We can see so much more. So again, we don't see things as they are, we see them as we are. So as we change the lens, or as we change the eyes behind the physical eyes, that's our perception. Whether it's mental, emotional, spiritual, as we change those eyes and ask for guidance in terms of how can my perception be changed, everything changes. Wayne Dyer said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. There's a record producer named Rick Rubin. Anybody ever heard of him? He produced like everybody. I actually didn't know much about him until I read everybody that he produced. And he said, the trick is to look for what you notice that no one else sees. And that's where some of the magic is. What are some of the things that you're meant to perceive that only you will see in this room, that no one else will perceive, because that is a part of your gift. That's spiritual vision. And speaking of spiritual vision, I want to tell you about weeds. And Jen, put this slide up, if you will. So I don't know if you can see, but all right, this is our little patio, and we're both out there yesterday, and it turns out we were both marveling at, well, Jen had been marveling at this, it's 6 feet tall, okay? And both of us were noticing it, and we both thought the same thing. This is not, it's beautiful. And other people would call it a weed and say, get rid of that thing. But it's taller than Jen is. And it's got all, it's like, I'm not sure if you can see it, but the neck of it is like 1.5 feet long, and then it's got these sprouting things, and it's got these little teeny yellow flowers at the top. And I was thinking, some other culture may have worshipped this plant. And then what is the difference between one person's plant and another person's weed? Like, ask about the dandelion, right? Some people are, get rid of that stuff. But other people see, it's the spiritual significance of dandelion, right? I was thinking the same thing about bees. When I grew up, it's like, oh, a bee is something you stomp on, and, it's a bad thing. It's going to sting you. But bees are revered as spiritual messengers in so many countries, and they are essential to our economy. There are more people now worshiping bees and understanding their importance, and that's all perspective. Something else about our perspective and what it does. Recently, you may have read, there was a Salvador Dali painting that was purchased in a UK thrift store for 150 pounds. That's about $200. And later on, that person didn't know it was a Dali. Later on, they find out it's a Dali, and it's worth probably 200 times more. It's probably worth $40,000 instead of $200. It's called the Vecchio Sultan, right? But this is all perception, right? It's all perception. You go to see modern art at a museum, and maybe it's a super expensive piece that lots of people are admiring, and you're thinking, I scribbled something like that in the 3rd grade, right? It is perception. And so how many times have we seen ourselves as a thrift store piece instead of a masterpiece? How many times have we viewed ourselves as a mediocre plant or a weed instead of this amazing thing that is blossoming, that is a miracle? That is a miracle, more miraculous than any miracle, right here, right where you're sitting. So I was just thinking about, what if we viewed God, the Creator, as outside of us, and we viewed Mother, Father, God as thinking about us? What would Mother, Father, God think about us? Mother, Father, God loves us unconditionally. Do we love ourselves always unconditionally? What if we saw through the eyes of God through every situation? What if we gave ourselves grace, took away our own shame, and just gave ourselves what we deserve as worthy, completely 100% worthy and 100% forgiven with nothing to forgive? What if we always did that? Eckhart Tolle said, when we stop filtering life through ego's wounded lens, we see more clearly. We see the truth. When I was working at eBay in 2003, when I first started there, this company was on fire, Fortune 500 company, and I was kicking butt. I had every quarter we had a review, and we got a score from 1 to 5. Now, nobody got 5, the top score. They reserved that for only a few. But most people in the company got 3, meaning you're doing as expected. But right away, I got a 4, And then the next quarter, I got a 4. So really good review, really good review, really good review. And then all of a sudden, I got what I thought was a bad review. And I was devastated. I was just devastated. But looking back in time, I realized, and I realized this last night, I got a 3, what most people get, and I was devastated because I didn't get a 4, right? But my boss said, instead of just shrinking because you didn't get the 4 review, you can see this as an opportunity to climb to the next level at eBay. And I dusted myself up. I said, I'm going to see this, instead of shrinking into the corner, I'm going to see this as a gift so I can take this input and climb to the next level. And I did. So my boss was able to see the magnificence in me more than I was seeing the magnificence in me. And it was the same event. So how can we view more often through our spiritual highest self lens instead of through the wounded ego, the trauma lens? Eckhart Tolle said, rather than being your thoughts, rather than being your emotions, we need to be the awareness behind those thoughts and emotions. So for those who saw the movie What the Bleep, the one takeaway, that's a must-see. You could probably see it on YouTube for free. The one takeaway about that movie is be the observer. And when you step outside and be the observer, so much is possible when you change your lens outside of the fogginess that we walk around with habitually. So, and Byron Katie said, it's not what happens to you, it's what you believe happens to you. It's not what happened, it's what you believe about what happened. And if you keep on telling the story about what happened, it perpetuates it. It's like reliving it again and again and again. And along this vein, I figured I might share this book before it falls apart, because it's, they don't do this to books anymore. They don't paint the edges anymore. So it's probably worth $200,000. Anyway, it's actually printed in 1969 when I was 4 years old. I don't know how I got it, but I loved this book. And last night I realized I wrote in the inside sleeve, I said, "Child of God allows us to erase the parent recordings." Wow, that's pretty deep. Using this symbology as we are a child of the divine, a child of God, takes our biological parents off the hook and lets us erase the errant parent recordings. But other wisdom that came from this book, and I'm going to ask Jen to put the first slide up. So it's about 4 views. Who's read this book before? It's called, it's called the $20,000 book. No, it's called I'm Okay, You're Okay. And it's based upon the system of transactional analysis. It also includes parent, adult, child. Are we, in our conversations, in our relationships, we can have a parent-to-parent dialogue, we can have a parent-to-child dialogue, we can have an adult-to-adult dialogue, and that's all in here too. But there's 4 takeaways about this book that are so important. And the first, there are 4 world views. The first worldview is, I'm not okay, you're okay. I'm not okay, you're okay. And this is victim consciousness. This is letting other people grade our report card. This is letting social media or society or the media at large or people, they're okay and I'm not okay. They're more capable, they're more loving, they're more worthy. I'm not as worthy, I'm not as capable, I'm not as loving. And in order to reach and join their level, I'm going to let them determine what the criteria is for me to be fully worthy. So much unconscious programming goes into this ever since we're children. And this spiritual lens says, I see God in you, but not in myself. I see God in them, but not in myself. So the next worldview is, I'm not okay, you're not okay. And this, this is the principle of, this is hopelessness. This is giving up. This is forgetting the first principle of unity. There's only one presence and one power, and it's in everything. It's in you and it's in me. It's all God. So the next worldview is, I'm okay, you're not. You are not okay. This is the judgmental view. This is, there's no namaste here. There's no unity here. There's maybe, narcissism here. There's certainly judgment here. This is the land of racism, right? This is the land of bias and unconscious bias. I'm okay, you're not as okay as I am. And this is, I see God in me, but not in you. So finally, there's, I'm okay, you're okay. And that's the title of the book, because this is the best place to be. This is the psychological view of, for all adults, we're talking to each other adult to adult, not adult to child, not parent to child, right? It's praising everything and everyone. Emma Curtis Hopkins, who was the teacher of Myrtle and Charles Fillmore, she's the teacher of Ernest Holmes. She's pivotal in the development of New Thought. She said, the quickest way to get your healing power going is to praise everything and everyone in your mind. And I know that that's difficult, but can we start here? Can we start in our families? Can we start in our social circles and praise everything and everyone in your mind, because what's occurring for them is appropriate. If you went all through all their experiences, you would be doing the same thing. So starting out from this is powerful. I'm going to talk a little bit later about a prayer course that I'm going to be offering. And the power of prayer is to see the world as I'm okay, you're okay. It is when someone is sick, you see them as whole. When someone is diminished, you see past that, you lift them up. When someone is impoverished, you see them as abundant. You see past the condition to the reality of, that they are whole and complete. And you hold that vision for them. You hold the high watch for them, as Reverend Pat and I do, holding the high watch until they can walk it for themselves. That's the power of prayer. 2 Corinthians, there's a quote that says, we walk by faith, not by sight. And I think that's what we've been talking about. We walk by faith, which is the eye behind the physical eye, the ear behind the physical ear, right? It's metaphysical. It's metaphysical. So I will sum up the talk this way, and I think I'll invite Anna to come up. So let's stop seeing through the eyes of old tape recordings. It's a lifetime work. Let's stop seeing through the eyes of I'm not okay. Stop seeing through the eyes of you're not okay. And most of all, start seeing through the eyes of this is anything but ordinary. This is a miracle. So I'd like to end with a prayer. And I wrote this at 5 a.m, so we'll see how it sounds. Let's take a deep breath together. And Anna, if you'd help me. So thinking about the banner that's behind me, we can see each day through new eyes. We can hear through new ears. We can think new thoughts. It's our choice. And when we do, each day rises to meet us with new possibilities, with new potential that we never thought of before. Because we're receptive, we're willing, we're open to receive, and the past is behind us as we step into the new. And for this, I'm so very grateful. And so it is.